Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pender.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
And we're back. The Whitecaps are back. It feels that football is back. Forget all this World Cup nonsense. We're back with the proper meat and potatoes. The Whitecaps are back at training. We're going to look a lot at the Whitecaps in the show. We're going to bring you a couple of interviews I did with draft pick Levonte Johnson, new signing addition that was picked up in the re-entry draft, Karifa Yao. We're going to hear a little bit from head coach Vanni Sartini about being back at training. Some stuff that I noticed today, some rumours that's going around, and a lot more besides. Going to talk some general football chat as well. It's a great time to be chatting about football, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, just kind of getting into there's a little bit of a break there. Usually we have a bigger break, but a little bit less of a break. But yeah, jumping right into the season.
I think the way that the MLS had organised the off-season with the drafts and everything being quicker, it doesn't really feel that there has been a break.
No, not much.
It feels like playoffs finished and you're straight into the World Cup and now you're straight back into this. It feels a little weird.
Yeah, different from previous years because usually by the time the MLS was done, it was just basically nothing until near the end of January, and now it's even 3 weeks earlier than what it normally is.
And it was great being back at the Whitecaps training facility as well. I hadn't got out tons last year for various commitments. Obviously, I was doing a lot of stuff via Zoom as well. So it was nice to get out and see everyone on the pitch. So we'll get into all of that shortly. I want to chat about just some other general football stuff that has happened in the past week or so just to kick the show off. And last show, we paid our tributes to one of the footballing greats, Pele, passed away aged 82. That maybe wasn't a huge shock. People knew he was ill, and I think it just felt like it's just going to be a matter of time before he sadly passed away. But this week, a giant from world football, Italian football, Gianluca Vialli, passed away aged just 58 on January 6th. And I think it just caught so many people by surprise because so many people just did not know that he was ill. He'd suffered pancreatic cancer for around a year. And people of a certain age, like some folk won't really have seen Vialli play or know much about him. People around my age will have kind of grown up watching him in the Premiership. And initially in the UK, one of the first foreign leagues that was broadcast on Channel 4 was Serie A. Mm-hmm. So on a Sunday, you got your Italian football. And I think Vialli is one of those rare players that didn't have more clubs than Tiger Woods. When you look back at his kind of CV, he only ever played for 4 clubs, making his debut in the 1980-81 season with Cremonese in Serie C1. Spent 4 seasons there, then 8 with Sampdoria, 4 with Juventus, and finally 3 with Chelsea. Absolute legend of a player, Zach.
my experience of him is similar to yours, Michael, in that I got to watch him play on Teletino or Rye or whatever, or Teletino. I think got the Rye feed or whatever when I was growing up in Ontario, and so yeah, I watched him. I'd never watched him play for Sampdoria. I remember seeing pictures of him playing for Sampdoria, but yeah, remember him fondly from his days playing for Juventus, and then also watched him, of course, in his years at Chelsea.
Yeah, 673 overall appearances in club football, 259 goals, 2 Serie A championships, 4 Coppa Italias, an FA Cup, a League Cup, 2 European Cup Winners' Cup, a UEFA Cup, and the last player to lift the Champions League as captain of Juventus as well back in 1996. Kind of crazy, really, to think they've not won a Champions League since 96 as well, because they were always one of those giants of the game. And I was a bit surprised, though, only 59 appearances for Italy, getting 16 goals. I would have thought he had had a lot more than that.
Maybe he had issues with the manager. That's why. I don't know.
Yeah, doesn't everyone apparently?
Yeah, back in the day, like Italian. No, it seems like Italian people have a very specific people they pick up, right?
They were stacked back then, though.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say they had so many options at forward back then that I think he didn't maybe always make it. Well, he was at Italian 90, right?
Yeah, there's a lot less games played there. He played Italian 90. I think Italy finished third that year.
Yeah. They did. He wasn't at USA 94 with the team.
The thing about it is like his illness and everything. He was like you said, diagnosed in November 2018 or something initially, and they gave him a clear in April of 2020. But if people talk about cancer, you're not fully clear for 5 years. Like if you have to pass like 5 years, and that's about when it came to right now. That came back.
I don't remember why he wasn't there in 94, but you certainly, when you look at the 94 team, you feel like he should have been there ahead of someone like Daniele Massaro. When I think back to that team, they could have used some more scoring because they relied on Baggio.
But maybe he retired from international soccer at one point.
I don't think so.
No, he was still kind of lighting it up. Really, it was a bit of a surprise.
So I'm just reading Wikipedia right here. So he made his last appearance in December of '92, and he had a strained relationship with the coach.
There you go.
Ario Sacchi.
Oh yeah, see, Sacchi, that's right.
So it brought his international career to a premature end.
Yeah, that's right.
His club success in the '90s.
Sacchi, I think, brought in Massaro because I think he had him at Milan, I think, and he was like one of his guys.
So there is apparently in Wikipedia, and this is a rumor. It's rumored that Vialli played a prank on Sacchi, which was the reason for his dropping from the national team. So we don't know like if it was a mean-spirited prank or a fun prank. Who knows? But
Arrigo Sacchi was a very serious dude, like not the kind of guy I would imagine that enjoyed pranks. Even though we're supposed to be funny.
Yeah, I mean the horse's head in the bed. It's run its course by I think that time. But then Vialli went on to be a manager. Only managed 2 teams. Managed Chelsea and then Watford in the English Premiership, won an FA Cup, a League Cup, Charity Shield, Cup Winners' Cup, and a Super Cup, all in his 3 years that he had at Chelsea. And he took over them just aged 33 as well. Then got sacked by Chelsea, went to Watford, but after that, just never got back into management, was doing punditry, commentary over with Sky in Italy. And when I saw that was like trending, and I was like, what? It can't be Gianluca Vialli. And then I clicked into it. It's like, wow, I was just stunned by it. It's just seems oh so young. But obviously with the Whitecaps having an Italian coach, I had to ask Vanni at training today just for his thoughts on the legend Gianluca Vialli. Here's what he had to tell me. We're going to talk about this on our show, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. Obviously, Italian soccer lost a legend in Gianluca Vialli this year. What's your memories of him as a player from watching?
Well, I actually have a lot of memories, two memories. Like as a player, he was a fantastic player, striker, like very acrobatic. He was also a very funny person, outgoing. Like one of those players that when I was a kid was one of the first players that was kind of even very at ease in front of the camera, and he could be. So I have a lot of memories. But actually, one thing that I remember very well is like he was doing the pro license, the coaching course in Italy, and I just started. I was still playing, and I just started working for the federation. I was doing like research for the department. It's called Study Center for the federation, the Italian federation, and we actually worked a little bit together on his final thesis. I helped him doing some graphics, and it was it's a cherished memory because I was no one and he was a player that played a lot of years in the national team, and he was coaching Chelsea at the time, maybe or Watford, I think, and he had time for me to speak soccer and speak everything and talk soccer for hours. So yeah, it's even if it's something that happened almost 20 years ago, it's a cherished memory that I have.
So Vanni there just chatting about Gianluca Vialli and having the chance to work with him in a coaching course when they're doing their licenses as well, and that's just a memory that sticks in his head. He's just starting off. Vialli spent the time talking to him, sharing ideas with him. Just a great story to have. And I know you met him as well once,
yeah.
Zach.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about Vialli, the coach, I think his biggest contribution to his side was that Euro 2020 / Euro 2021 Italian victory, where he was assistant coach with his former teammate Roberto Mancini. They were strike partners together, I think, at Sampdoria. And like the players, when you talk to them about it, my understanding is that they like the contribution of Vialli in partnership with Mancini were like incredibly inspirational. And there's I think a Netflix documentary that you can watch all about it, which Kirk and I have watched before and really enjoyed. So yeah, if you haven't seen that, Mike,
I haven't.
You should check it out.
Oh, we can maybe do that as a TVOD.
Yeah, it's I can't remember if it's episodic or if it's a one-all. I think it might be episodic, but yeah, no, I very, very briefly met him once. It was May 19th, 2012. And it was
the fact you remember that, obviously it's got some other meaning.
yeah. It was a Saturday. No, it was the day of the Bayern Chelsea Champions League final. And so I after the game, I was fairly distraught, and that was my first and so far.
You didn't hit him with a flag, did you?
No. No, but it does tie into Tifo actually a little bit. So that was my first visit to the Allianz Arena, and still so far my only visit to the Allianz Arena, and I was very disappointed in the result. And I was kind of just like, first I just sat in my seat for a long time. And then as people left or whatever, I went down in the section. I was in the Sud Curva, and I went down in the section, and I picked up a couple of pieces of, there was a brilliant Tifo display that day. And so I picked up pieces from it, put it in my bag. And then I just went and I sat in the front row, and I just like, I'm just going to stay here until they ask me to leave. And so as I was sitting there, I didn't even see them coming. They just were coming around the field, I guess, from wherever they were. I don't know what, but it was Gianluca Vialli and Fabio Capello. And they were like, because in German stadiums, you're really close to the pitch, right? Like in the Allianz Arena, you're really close to the pitch. And so they were just walking the little gap between the net and the section, the end, the curva. And I looked up, and there they were. So I just said like hello to them and shook their hands or whatever, and said words of appreciation for their contribution to football or something. And it was very, very brief, but I was just like, yeah, it was kind of a nice way to. And then shortly thereafter, a steward came to me and said, "Sir, you realize there's no one else in the stadium, and you need to leave." And at that point, I think it was like 1:30 in the morning or something. It was a late start, and it was a long, extra time penalties and long, and I stayed there for a long time after. And anyways, yeah, it was the one time I got to meet him. But yeah, he was a great personality in Italian and world football, and it's sad that he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, by all accounts, everyone's just said what a wonderful guy he was.
So do you guys want to know what prank he pulled?
Have you found it?
Sure. So this might not be official because it's kind of on one of those things that kind of get stories and put them together. I can't remember, like a library, not a library, but like an online library kind of thing. So I don't know. I can't cite where this article came from. So basically, it's mentioned that he put Parmesan cheese into the handkerchief of the manager, and then obviously the boss put it into his top pocket of his coat. And I'm not a Parmesan expert, but apparently it ruined his suit,
Yeah,
and that's the reason why he was basically
oils or whatever.
Yes.
Probably like some oil would come out of it, and
yeah, it's probably not the same Parmesan that we think about. Shake it on. It's probably the actual cheese and stuff.
Yeah, probably would have been like they shave it, right? So it would have been like big flakes. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, so I just thought I'd let you guys know because I got interested once I found out that he pulled a prank on the coach. I wanted to know what the prank was.
I was just checking just now as well because I remember watching Scotland play Italy at Ibrox in I think a World Cup qualifier. It was on my birthday in 92, so 92, yeah, it would have been. I was just looking at the lineup to see if he had played in that, but he didn't. So that's disappointing. Roberto Baggio played in that game though, so got to see him, Franco Baresi, Paolo Maldini. I really should make a note of some of these players that I've seen play over the years because I'm looking at these names going, I don't even remember having seen those players, but there we go. But RIP Gianluca Vialli. I hope that every week or every couple of weeks we're not having to say goodbye to a legend of the game because that would be a horrible start to 2023. We're 2 for 2 just now. But as with last week, our wavelength selection for this show is going to be a tribute to Gianluca Vialli as well. And that's coming up in part 4. So, last year I'd mentioned how in 2021 we had Steve's Gift That Kept Giving, where we were opening up all our cards at the start of shows and stuff like that, which I loved. And then last year I'd hoped to regularly do kind of like our TVOD section where we're going to just review TV things, and then life got in the way and we never got around to doing it. So we will be continuing that this year at the start of things, but also just throwing in some general football chat. And that's how I want to start off this show before we get to the Whitecaps. I'm curious whether either of you, because I know Zach's not a big fan of football in the UK, but did either of you watch any of the FA Cup games this weekend?
No.
I have not. I haven't even seen the results.
I in fact saw that I was flipping around. I saw Manchester City playing Chelsea. I think it was on Sportsnet, so it was on free TV.
Yes.
And I switched the channel.
Oh. You didn't miss much, to be fair. Chelsea were absolutely terrible. I don't know about Graham Potter getting them out of the mess. I don't even think Harry Potter could get Chelsea out of the mess that they seem to get at the moment.
Did you hear Warner Brothers is planning on like rebooting that whole thing?
No, Harry Potter.
Yeah, apparently.
Oof. Well,
because
Axel kept telling us he wasn't Harry Potter, and I feel he maybe was just protesting too much at that. Maybe he's going to get cast in it. He wasn't at training today. He's apparently over in Europe, maybe doing a test for Harry Potter. He could be Dumbledore.
Apparently, they're not happy with the amount of money that the follow-up, the Fantastic Beasts, 2 follow-ups or whatever.
Yeah, like the first one of them was great. The third one was good. The second one I didn't like at all.
The second one I remember, like, I haven't seen the third one, but I remember watching the second one, and it was like, I was just like, what is going on here? Like, I felt like there was too many gaps into.
Yeah, the plot kind of disappeared, and they were just focusing on the action.
I was done after the first one. I never watched the second one or third one. My kids, mostly because my kids weren't just interested in watching either one, so I was going, why do I need to watch it then?
Well, I'm a big kid, obviously, so I do enjoy that. But anyway, back to the FA Cup, which I was just wanting to see if you guys had watched it, because it was fantastic. And what I liked about it, in a number of ways, but I liked, you mentioned Sportsnet there, Steve. They didn't bury the games on Sportsnet World. There was a couple on there, but they showed quite a few games on the main Sportsnet channels, which is fantastic. And the last few years, the FA Cup's kind of lost its shine a little bit for me because the shocks haven't been there. A lot of the Premier teams, even the Championship teams, play weakened sides because they can't be bothered with the tournament, and it's just so much disrespect. And I always hold up the FA Cup that this is what I would love the Canadian Championship to be somewhere down the road, to have all these teams that you can start off in preliminary round 6 and just work your way up, and you'd have like VMSL teams battling it out and stuff. Obviously, it's different here in Canada because of the weather and when teams play and all that kind of stuff. But there were some fantastic shocks. I thought everyone over here now was a Wrexham fan, so is that not the case?
Well, I knew about that result. While I didn't follow it, I heard about that through social media, that the Wrexham had beaten Coventry.
I have not heard any of the results whatsoever.
Oh, well.
So Wrexham won?
Wrexham,
beat Coventry.
non-league Wrexham, beat Steve's Coventry.
It's my Coventry.
I thought you had a soft spot for Coventry.
I did, actually, because
I had my top for Coventry.
No, I did. You're right. I haven't followed them in years.
Wait, Wrexham are still non-league?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Despite all the money that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney have put in, they still haven't got promoted.
This is only season 2, isn't it?
Might be 2 and a bit, 2.5.
I thought it's like 1.5.
They're actors. They don't own any oil or anything like that. Oil companies or anything where they can.
No, but at that level, it doesn't require that much on the playing side. It's more the bigger things that are going to cost them money, or that fixing that stand, which maybe they've already done. And
I think that's where they were trying to build up the infrastructure before they start. Like,
it's disappointing to me because Wrexham's racecourse ground is like one of those fantastic old-fashioned UK football grounds with a terracing that isn't safe anymore. Yeah. But they still had that terracing behind the goals, and I just always wished I'd gone and seen a game there.
You haven't watched the show, right, Mike?
I haven't yet.
You need to watch the show, because I feel like every time they show the stadium, that stand was like covered like a Chivas USA match.
Yes. I've got mixed emotions about Wrexham. This is why I'm kind of mentioning it, because obviously Ryan Reynolds has put his money in, and lots of people on Twitter tag Ryan Reynolds all the time saying, "Do you want to buy the Whitecaps? Do you want to buy the Whitecaps?" And obviously he's looking to possibly be part owner of Ottawa Senators and stuff as well. But I have got mixed emotions about Wrexham. I was reading an article that viewers in the US are loving it, and ESPN, they've shown Wrexham's games in the first 3 rounds, and they've got huge viewing numbers for it because of this Hollywood connection. But basically, they went 2-0 up, got pulled back to 2-1, and then scored right in the stroke of half-time to make it 3-1. Then they went ahead 4-1 with a penalty, whilst Coventry got a guy sent off as well. So 10-man Coventry then brought it back to 4-3 and almost snatched a draw and a replay out of it. But as the match was going on, it kind of just became clear to me. Initially I was cheering on Wrexham as the non-league and the underdog, but then I started cheering on Coventry for the comeback. And I don't like this thing that Americans or big money people, whether it's Saudis or whatever, I think this would set a bad example that film stars or American businessmen or whatever can think, we can just go and buy a non-league team, put tons of money in it, and do our own football manager, or pretend that we're having a Ted Lasso style show and just move them up through the ranks. It doesn't sit overly comfortably with me.
See, the thing is with me about this all the time, that ever since I heard about it, to me, it always felt like that the buying of Wrexham and fixing it up was secondary, and it was actually producing a show about it, like having some kind of reality show about it. That's what it felt like to me. And it's nothing that they said. It's just probably maybe the cynical side when it comes to somebody doing something like this of me, that I'm always like questioning it. Do they have actual proper intentions, or are they doing it to have something produced? And if it fails, that's even better production. Like it's actually people are going to watch it more right?
Oh no, it does feel like it was the purchase was like they wouldn't have done it if they couldn't have done it the way they wanted to with the show. The show. But they're not idiots. The show, even Michael just said, the show has and is bearing the fruit that they wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
No, I know. It's kind of almost like helping each other out. Like the show.
Oh yeah, Wrexham's making lots of money from kit sales and stuff as well.
Exactly. So it's like I'm just thinking about the initial intentions. What were they? And is it obviously it's benefiting both sides, but do they actually care about the club, or are they more interested in the show? That's my question. Like for me, based on everything you hear about Ryan Reynolds, he is more of a person that cares. But I like the other guy. I'm not sure. I don't know who he is, so I don't watch It's a sunny day in Philadelphia that much or whatever that show is. I can't remember. But yeah, it's just a questioning. And you're right. The way, like, obviously the people that, the Saudi people, they're always anybody who is from Saudi Arabia, they're almost looking for a game or something to play with. It's a toy to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, you always question that. But that's almost every owner out there, whether they're English, Saudi, American, whatever you want to say. Everything's always just a toy. It's just that's what the cynical side of me have. Like, it's always a tax write-off for them, essentially. Like, if they don't make money on it, they can write it off and save taxes out somewhere else.
I can't remember if it was a Wrexham manager or one of their players had really pissed off Coventry because they were like, "Oh, we're disappointed we've only got Coventry. We wanted a bigger team." Because they got a championship team. So now in the next round, they've got a home game against Sheffield United. So not exactly big box office draw for them.
Yeah.
Well, but they're a very historic team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great game. There's a potential shock there, and to me, that is the exciting part of it. But they want to go toe to toe against all these big teams. We were talking about
Isn't Luke Wildman a fan of Sheffield United?
I think he is actually. Yeah.
So clearly, Ryan Reynolds need to sneak into TSN Studios and just do something to Luke Wildman at this point.
Well, I mean, I think the only way that we can get answers from Ryan Reynolds is for him to come on our show in March for our 10th anniversary specials and speak to us. So if you're listening, Ryan, which obviously is a Vancouver boy, why would you not be? Then, come on the show in March. Your people can talk to my people. That's me. And we'll see what we can get sorted out.
Yeah, he was on Letterman, so why not be on with us?
Exactly.
What's the difference?
Yeah. But we were talking about it on these Five Show. Like, if someone came to your club and wanted to put that money in, you'd grab it with both hands at the same time.
For sure.
But when you're looking from outside of that, it's like, I'd kind of like them to do well because I always had a bit of a soft spot for Wrexham and all the Welsh teams that played in England, just as a big middle finger to all the English clubs. But yeah, I just think it sets a bad example, and you could see more and more of this. Because interestingly, a lot of the teams that have dropped out from League Two in the last couple of seasons are now facing relegation from the National League, and they're down the bottom of that as well. So they're dropping like a stone. But anyway.
Now, if it was like a Catherine Zeta-Jones or something coming back to buy the team and running it because she's Welsh, would it be different for you then instead of American doing it? Or
actually, if they had a local connection, like if Goldie, Luke and Shane bought Newport, I don't think they've got that kind of money from the record sales, to be honest.
Well, check their YouTube reviews, maybe.
Well, I just got my latest football top, Newport Corinthians. It's a Welsh non-league side because Goldie, Luke and Shane are their sponsor, so I got that strip. And it's got a lovely dragon design through it as well, so it was for their Welsh Cup games. So just thought I'd mention that as well. Anyway, let's move out of Wales because the Whitecaps, of course, went to Wales for pre-season in 2017. How's this for a segue? This year they're going back to Europe, but not to Wales, otherwise I'd be over there as well. They're off to sunny Spain, Viva España. But yeah, they were back at training here in Vancouver. They returned on Friday, did all their medicals, were on the pitch for Saturday, Sunday, did their beep tests yesterday, which I was saying to Levante Johnson, I was like, oh, you did the beep tests when we weren't here. We love to see you suffer. That's my favourite part of pre-season, is seeing the players go through that hell. The two fittest guys this year, though, Sebastian Berhalter, probably just running to get away from all this stuff about his parents, and Ali Ahmed as well.
Wait, no Rusty anymore?
Rusty's still recovering from his injury.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. He's giving other people a chance.
Yeah. He'll come back and go, oh, you thought that was good? Wait till you see what I can do. I think he's still running from 2021, actually. It might be how he had got his injury.
He can beat with the best of them.
Whitecaps are back. They're back at training. They head off to Spain. We're recording this on Monday afternoon. They head off to Spain on Tuesday the 10th, where they'll stay until January 22nd. Then back to Vancouver for a couple of days, where they'll get a bit of rest, and then they'll be back on the pitch from the 25th to the 28th, off on the 29th, then heading off to Palm Springs on the 30th, back around the 19th, and then the new season gets underway at home to RSL on February 25th.
Has there been a more exciting preseason? schedule, like, and camp and like trips, and like this is the best they've ever done.
I think it probably is. I mean, obviously, nothing will beat 2012 in the Mickey Mouse Cup. That was the highlight of my whole time supporting the Whitecaps in MLS.
I mean, that was honestly like special, but it was this seems like the most invested they've been in a preseason ever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that I'm wondering is, like, you mentioned the time they're spending in Spain. Right now, they only have one scheduled game.
Yeah, I'm sure there's got to be others. I mean, they must be playing against some local Spanish sides, because initially that's what I told it was going to be.
Isn't there a certain Whitecaps owner that has partial ownership in a Spanish side? Or
Of course. No, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why wouldn't they be playing them for the Nash Cup?
Maybe they will. Maybe they'll hear this suggestion and sort it out.
No, you got to figure that they're going to be playing some like scrimmages against whatever reserve sides or.
Well, I mean, Marbella's got a team, so
yeah, exactly.
I've been to the stadium in Marbella. Went down. We were staying for a week in Fuengirola. Went down to Marbella for the day. Wandered around. The stadium was open because they were cutting the grass. I went in, took photos. All my photos from that trip didn't turn out because it was the old-fashioned spooling the camera, and my camera accidentally opened and all my photos got destroyed. So I don't have any photos from that stadium, which really pisses me off, because I also went to Gibraltar that trip and I never got any photos from that. I've been telling all the guys to go to Gibraltar because I just want them to take photos so I can like relive the experience. And we'll have Khalifa Yao later in the show as well. I said to him, "You looking forward to going to Spain?" He's like, "Oh, it's going to be a great vacation." It's like, no, I don't mean vacation. I mean, it's going to be a hard training.
He caught himself.
But it is going to be a nice way to ease into it. And they will be put through the paces. From watching training today, though, there was some fierce challenges flying in. So the guys, they look fit, they look sharp, they look hungry. And we haven't seen that every year when the guys have come back, Steve.
No, nothing that you see where like I'll refer back. It's the annual mentioning of the bonjour tackle on Long Tan, where Long Tan totally retaliated afterwards. But yeah, that you rarely see that because everybody's trying to be careful. Nobody wants to get injured going because this is the time when you want to prove yourself.
Yeah.
So, but some people need to do those tackles to prove themselves. So that's where you got to be careful about who's coming in on you. So while you are being careful, you still have to pay attention to your surroundings, even in training.
So right now there's 6 pre-season games lined up, and there is one of them in Marbella. And I do wonder whether Axel had a hand in this.
I think so.
Because we know Mark DeSantis posted a hamburger, and now it's like Axel's talked about getting a hamburger, and now they're playing
that would be
hamburger.
Yeah, you know what? If Axel did this scheduling due to that meme, I have so much respect for him.
I wanted to ask him that today, but he wasn't at training because he's still in Europe.
My elevation of respect for him goes up. I want him to be the manager for life at that point. Just off the top of my head, if he scheduled this game against them because of that meme, I don't think he did.
I don't think he did. But that would be funny.
That would be awesome if he did that.
Maybe this is a hint, because we'll talk in the next part about a potential New Jersey sponsor. Maybe it's going to be McDonald's or Burger King, and it's like, we'll just get in early by playing hamburgers.
No.
Yeah.
But
Uber Eats.
I mean, what can you tell us about Hamburger SV? Back in my day, they were just called Hamburg.
Yeah, HSV.
Kevin Keegan. That's all I know about Hamburg.
Is it pronounced hamburger, actually? Do they pronounce it hamburger themselves?
No. Well, no. None of the people I talk to call it hamburger.
They probably call them Mietenbunnen or something.
They call it the Hamburg Sport Club, HSV. Yeah, I mean, obviously they were until they got relegated a few years ago. They were the only club that had been in the Bundesliga for all the years up until that point. They were called, and their nickname is the Dinosaurs, partly, I think, because of that. But they
you know what? I might have had like a trivia question. I one of the previous games over the last few years, which is the only team that stayed in the Bundesliga. I remember that question.
You did. I remember that.
And they used to have They used to have a clock in their stadium running with like all the years and the time that they've been in the
Oh.
Bundesliga. Because I remember
Do they have one now for how long they've not been in the
no,
Bundesliga?
but I think Bayern, when there was like it wasn't confirmed, but it was imminent that they were going to get relegated. Actually, they had a couple of seasons where they were really low. I remember, I think it was Bayern supporters. It might have been other people as well. They did, I think, an away tifo at the whatever the stadium's called now. It used to be called the AOL Arena when I went there during the World Cup. But they did a tifo of the clock and it just said 0-0-0. But no,
That is
like,
very clever.
they're a traditional club. Yeah, they won major trophies, including the Bundesliga. Beckenbauer even spent a few years there, and won the league, I think, which is sad. No, yeah, and obviously their arch rivals they're like the rich team in Hamburg, and like the not so rich team, which has more of a cult following, is of course the beloved FC St. Pauli.
Yes.
Which,
I've got a couple of St. Pauli songs that I've never played in Wavelength, so I'll play one of them out for the week that we end up playing Hamburger.
Yeah, since they've dropped down, they've had the derby in the second division, which has been great for them, but Hamburg's really struggled to get back into the Bundesliga, and it's been really hard for them and their fans, because obviously once you spend a few years down, it kind of shapes your team. And even though they've always in these few years they've always been on the cusp, and I can't remember I think they might have even lost the playoff once, but they definitely like missed out on the playoffs, like just barely, on the last day or second last match day or whatever. And
do they have like what they have in England for the teams that go down to the championship? Do they have like parachute payments?
I'm not. You know what? That's a good question. I don't know if that they do. I don't know how that all works.
I don't like it, so I would hope that German, being the proper kind of football thing with a lot of stuff, wouldn't maybe have something like that.
Well,
maybe one season they might do something, but
yeah, in general, and there must be something, because I know in general it's kind of like, yeah, it's the same thing, and it's similar to England, where like, yeah, if you don't come back up the first year, it becomes exponentially harder. Is my understanding.
They're second right now in the
yeah.
division.
Oh yeah,
right.
they're doing like I said, they're always.
I'll be a good test for the Caps then.
And the thing is, maybe Zach, you know why this is, but I noticed that when I was looking up their schedule, they had a game on the 13th, which was a Friday, but it's canceled. It was playing against Freiburg. Was there a reason is that's canceled, or because ultimately they're playing on the 7th, then they don't have any game until the Whitecaps, and then they play the 29th. So you expect it to be probably a full unit then at that point.
Did you say Freiburg on the 13th?
It was supposed to be. It's scheduled.
Maybe it was a friendly, because aren't they in their winter break just now?
That would be a friendly, because
okay, that would be a friendly, because it's cancelled right now.
Freiburg's, I think, in the top flight.
Oh wait, yeah, be there, but Friday.
Unless it's German.
The 13th,
Cup.
which is this. Yeah, Freiburg also had a game canceled this past Saturday, so maybe it's on Freiburg's side that it was canceled.
No, it's a friendly. Yeah, the league's not back yet. The leagues are not back yet.
Okay.
Yeah, because for Friday Bayern has a friendly, and I was confusing it for a second. They're playing Dead Bull OG in Salzburg. But yeah,
it's certainly going to be a good test for the Whitecaps, and then when they get back, they've got 5 games in Palm Springs as well, against DC, Charlotte, TFC, St. Louis, and Minnesota. So it's a way better. Never mind being more exciting, Steve. It's like a way more testing pre-season, which they need, because they're going to have to hit the ground running big time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's everybody's either in their league or in a higher league so far that they're playing. So it's definitely a good test.
Yeah.
6 games, I would say, should be good enough to get you going. I just wish there was a second game in Spain. I'm
sure there's going to be. I mean, I'll get East Fife to fly down.
I'm talking about like I'm not disparaging East Fife. I'm talking like a proper game, not just a scrimmage or anything like that. Like a proper.
We'd give them a proper game. We'd show them some tough tackles. And it's like Ryan Gauld has broken his leg in the friendly against East Fife.
Oh my!
Yeah, let's hope not. Fingers crossed. Ryan's actually. This is so stupid. Like this, there's 34 players in the camp. So Ryan was back in Scotland for Christmas.
Yeah.
Then the Whitecaps were hoping he could just join them in Spain, but MLS have made all the clubs have their players come back to their markets. So he's had to come back to do all the testing. Then he's not even going back to Spain right away because he's going down to San Jose tonight to do the media stuff that they've got on Tuesday. Then he has to fly back to Spain. And it's like Schopf had to fly back from Austria. And it's like, so stupid. Just let these guys just join them up in Spain. I think the Whitecaps are the only team that is going to Europe for pre-season. But surely you can make that exception and not have folk flying back and forward.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why. Yeah, I don't see reason why MLS, if they need to do some kind of testing or whatever, they should have been able to do testing there.
I mean, it's good. It's good for them to have standards. Like, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it seems like you could maybe make exceptions to the rule.
If you're signed, that is it, because like Jean-Claude Gando is still in Paris. He's going to join them up down in Spain because he officially doesn't have an MLS deal yet. But 34 players in camp, and that includes the newly confirmed centre-back, Mathias Laborda. We'll have a little bit more on him in the next part. Draft picks, JC Gando is going to join them in Spain, and Levante Johnson is already here. We'll hear from him later in the show. 2 academy call-ups. Goalkeeper Cohen Park, that I don't know anything about, to be honest. And defender Mikhail Gerasimenkov, who I'm really hoping doesn't play for their under-19s in the League 1 BC this coming season, because that's going to give me a nightmare in commentary. I'll just call him MG or something as we do the commentary in that. 3 WFC2 players as well. One's listed as a draft pick because it's Giovanni Aguilar, who was taken in the draft last year, but he was playing with WFC2. So for me, it's him, Jay Herdman as well, and Joe Hansen, the Yukon player as well, who's a big forward, and the Caps feel very high on him as well. An interesting one, this guy's been training with WFC2. There's just one invitee so far, and it's 3-time CPL champion Daniel Crutzen. He missed 10 months of last season with Forge after tearing his ACL after just 2 games. He's a 26-year-old defender, Dutch, and that could be an interesting one to keep an eye on as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you think they'll have hopefully a few more trialists or whatever come through, but that one is exciting. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see if he has any long-lasting effects from his recovery and stuff. But,
yeah. But I mean, you're bringing that guy that's just won 3 championships. It's like fantastic.
Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken, he is left-footed too, right? Or am I?
You always ask me this, and I have no idea.
That I don't know, actually. I can't remember.
Okay.
But let's play a little bit of audio from Vanni Sartini. I'll just play some select answers from him from training on Monday. Just looking ahead to the season to come, the pre-season, and a few other things as well. Here's the gaffer.
It's a bit of a different group that you have this season.
Yep.
There's obviously some notable guys who've left this club. What is it like for you to be integrating new faces and working with this version of this team?
Yeah, it's true. Like we made a lot of changes, I would say. I think it's like 7-8 guys that were with us last year that they're not this season with us. That went in 2 directions. We didn't want a very big roster, like 30 players. We want to have like 23, 24 players and be very focused with them. So that was one of the reasons. And so for this reason also we're integrating the new guys, I would say, in a way that we're going to look for the specific player in the specific position. We got Mathias now arrived. We got Carifa that we signed with the re-entry draft. So it's easy not to have also 15 new faces in. Like, okay, we left someone, and it's we can focus to some specific individuals to let's say make him at ease as soon as we can.
More moves to come?
Yeah, I think so. I think that I don't think that we're gonna sign another 5 or 6 players, but maybe 1 or 2, yes.
You've got a long training camp with lots of competition coming up. What does that do for your group heading into the regular season?
I think that we had an honest conversation at the end. I told you guys a lot of times. I think our Achilles heel last year was the start of the season. So at the start of the season include the preseason. The preseason is very important for the start of the season. So today in the first meeting, I told the guys that we need to go 100% from the first day because not only MLS, after 2 weeks in the season, we have the first game of Champions League. So big games will arrive immediately and we need to be ready to go. And I'm happy that we're going to have good competition in Spain and good competition after Spain in Palm Springs. So we'll be ready for that.
We talked about that smaller roster before. Fighting now, though, in 4 competitions, can you afford to have that smaller roster?
Yeah, because we have the second team. So we have 5 guys from the WFC2 that are going to come with us in camp in Spain. We want to give them opportunity when they deserve to have opportunity in the first team. I'm very happy that we have Simon and Ali that signed from the second team to the first team this season, and hopefully someone more will join us at the end of this season or maybe during this season. So that's I think the entire idea of having a good second team that can support when we're going to have some problem in terms of injuries or something.
The last couple of seasons with the Champions League, the teams that have been in it in MLS have kind of got off to pretty poor starts. How can you make sure that doesn't happen?
It's going to be, I don't know, yeah. We need to be ready to, I would say, being as consistent as we can. And that's the reason why I also want this roster of 22 players, not 30 players, because I want 22 players that can be starters. And so if we, let's say, consume 11 players in the first 3 months and then we're going to bounce down like Seattle did last year, for example. They had a fantastic Champions League and then they had a very bad moment and they didn't make the playoff, probably because the effort was too much and they didn't have too many players to play. Even if they have a roster of 30 players, they always use the same 14, 15 players. So we'll not use the same 13, 14 players every time. We'll try to use 18, 19, 20 players, and that also, I hope, will help to be consistent during the season because we'll have everyone engaged and I would say willing to fight for a spot. So we won't have players that are like so behind than the other players. Hopefully, yeah. I'm describing the perfect scenario.
Mathias Laborda looks very mobile.
Yeah.
Right there. Is that what you're looking for in a new centre back?
Yeah. Well, yes. I don't think that in the modern soccer you can afford to not to be at least adequately fast and mobile. And he's good. He's a good player. He's a guy that can play very well defensively. He's good. He's going to help also in the build up, and he's bringing also winning habits. I would say he won the league last year in Uruguay. So of course we need to help him adapt to the new situation here with the league, because we know that the league is a good test for everyone who comes from outside. But I think he's going to help us. Yeah.
You said on Friday you weren't sure what primary formation the team was going to use this year.
Yep.
What's going to help you decide that? How are you going to go through that process to determine that?
The defenders play. The defenders. So the idea is to try to be a little more offensive than last year. I think that when things started to go well and we did a good second part of the season, I think defensively we were solid and it was hard to break us down, but we didn't have too many solutions offensively. So the idea is to involve more players in the offensive half, like in the set offense. And we need to understand if we are able to do it with only 2 center backs or with 3 center backs. So that's the that's the main question, I would say.
Vanni, it's been a few years since you guys went overseas. Why did you guys choose Spain? Is it because of the international competition you guys gotta have?
Mainly that reason. We didn't want to do 2 trips like in North America, because if not, you play always the same team, and you're gonna play those teams in the league, and we wanted to have like something new, like a shock. The second thing is that we want to play European teams in the sense of we know that the Hamburg, for example, that we play, they're in the middle of the season. They had the break because of the mid-season, but they're going to play league games a week after, so they're going to be very ready to play. And that also is like an incentive for the player to arrive ready here and to be even more 100% from day one. And also the place where we go in Marbella is really beautiful, weather-wise and football-wise. So, yeah, that's the thing.
What's your goalkeeping situation in your mind?
At the moment, we have 3 guys, Thomas, Isaac, and Max. The situation is open in the sense that at the moment, Thomas is the number 1, for sure. And the situation is open in the sense that whatever the market is gonna bring to us, then we will decide. I'm not in a way that we must sign a goalkeeper, but it depends if the occasion comes up. Why not?
Do you think Thomas can take on the role as a number 1 for the full season with all the competitions that you have, or would you like to see a veteran goalkeeper come in to push him and help bring that competition along?
It's not about veteran; it's about quality, let's say. So, as any other position, we are looking. So, of course, we always look inside first and outside. And so, if someone will arrive, it will be a high quality goalkeeper.
He's the gaffer. You can try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall, has the answer to it all. He's the gaffer.
The gaffer Vanni Sartini there. We'll unpack a little bit of what he had to say over the course of the rest of the show, and we'll be back with the first of that after this.
Hey, I'm Julian Gressel, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our first Artist of the Month for 2023 here at AFTN. We mentioned it last month. I wanted to pay more tribute to Terry Hall, that sadly passed away just before Christmas. Absolute legend of the music industry. We mentioned Coventry earlier in the show against Wrexham, and of course, Terry Hall from Coventry, the Two-Tone record label that he founded, and the Specials, and so many of the bands came from Coventry as well. So for this month, we're going to pay tribute to Terry Hall. He's our Artist of the Month. It's not just going to be songs by the Specials, though. We're going to kind of encompass his whole career. And the 3 songs that I've got for you tonight are all from different bands in different parts of Terry Hall's career. This one, though, is the one that kicked it all off. From 1979, it's the Specials' debut single, the first ever single released on Two Tone Records, and that was Gangsters. Speaking of unsavoury organisations, Bell Media. Bell are no longer the sponsors of Vancouver Whitecaps. We all turned up at training today and we saw tape over all the Whitecaps shirts and tracksuits and everything covering up all the Bell stuff. I say we saw that. I was watching it for 20 minutes before I realised that all the Bell stuff was covered up. But then it came out that Bell, the deal has run out. They are no longer the Whitecaps shirt sponsors. Active discussions, is the phrase the Whitecaps said, are currently taking place for the new sponsor. I did pitch AFTN as the new shirt sponsors. I offered free commentary for the League One BC games. I might get outbid, I just sense that. But that's it's on the table. Nathan's got that, so we'll see where he goes with that.
I don't think that's going to be enough to even get on the jockstrap. Like sponsorship.
I'd sponsor that if we get them at the end of the season. Player worn jockstraps. I mean, that could be their latest collector's item. Forget the player kits. You want those jockstraps. But genuinely, it does make you wonder who the new sponsors might be.
I think they already have it in play. Like, active discussions is probably what they're saying. They already they know who they have. This Bell thing was probably already done back in. Well, how like. Was it a very clean taping of the Bell sponsorship?
Very
where
clean.
It was invisible?
Yes.
So there you go. They already knew it was coming anyway, so they were ready for it.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're probably ready for it by the end of last year. Like,
poor Marty, the kit man's been out with his tape getting all these things together. There's been murmurs that part of it is because of the Apple deal as well. So there's the kind of, you're not showing all our games on our platforms. You're going to be an Apple. So sense. They might not have wanted to renew. That's just a rumour that was going around Twitter today. But just from the general chats that we had at training today, it does seem that they want a Canadian company to be the shirt sponsor. Now, obviously, a lot of the big ones like Tim Hortons, WestJet, etc., are tied up with the Canadian Premier League. Whether they would want to flip over to the Whitecaps as well, I don't know. But
now, we just to throw it out there, I don't know, I can't remember who the sponsors were, but Diane Matheson has two sponsors.
Yes,
for
Air
the
Canada and
League,
CIBC,
which is what the Whitecaps are part of that team too. So if they're like already ready to go, why that would tell us who the Whitecaps women's sponsor will be down the road too, if one of them ends up being there. So it could be Air Canada, maybe it is CIBC.
I thought CIBC made a lot of sense because they're getting more involvement in it now. And
you want CIBC on both Vancouver's kits this year?
I was racking my brains. I couldn't remember who was sponsoring Vancouver FC, so it is CIBC that they got.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Then I don't think then maybe it's Air Canada.
It won't be them.
I'm just throwing it out there only because that they're already like sponsors of it.
Yeah, that was exactly what I thought as well, Steve. I think that means probably TELUS might be really high up in the frame then, which is good because I've just renewed my 2-year deal with them. They gave me a really sweet deal, saving $150 a month. Anyway.
Wasn't there a time when both Celtic and Rangers both had the same kit sponsor?
Yes, they had that a couple of times. McEwen's Lager, that was one of them.
There was another older one, but
Yeah, because it's like if you're a company that sponsors one and not the other, it's like, oh, you're a Catholic, oh, you're a Protestant. So, yeah, that's the wonderful Scottish football. But, I mean, I think TELUS have got to be favourites. They'd tried to sponsor BC Place before, and then it was rumoured that Bell weren't happy with that.
They sponsored the pitch, right? They sponsored the pitch at one point? Yeah.
Remember,
maybe we could just sponsor the pitch instead.
When Paul Barber did the deal, it was like the best in the whole league, right?
Originally it was. Like $4 million
very
highly thought of.
I mean, despite the what happened during the pandemic and people's outrage towards Bell, how they treated their employees during the pandemic or whatever, which is obviously a valid concern. I think they've been quite a good partner for the Whitecaps, and in one sense, I think it'll be unfortunate that they've lost that long-term partnership. But like you say, it is a new door opening and a new opportunity for them to maybe get revenue that is actually higher than what they, the last few years of their contract with Bell have been, and to help them to push on to, achieve all they want on the pitch.
I was disappointed that Daily Hive wrote about it and their headline wasn't Whitecaps bell ends.
The funny thing is neither organization did like favors for the other one. Like the Bell, the Whitecaps had all those scandals or whatever going on, and so it's not doing any favors for them being a sponsor.
Yeah,
of this
and then
team.
Bell had all their scandals
not scandals, but they were laying off people. They shut down the sports.
And that was what I'd meant by
station.
unsavoury as well.
Yeah.
At the start of this as well. We're not saying that they're anything else. Interestingly, the Whitecaps back in Vancouver on Bell Let's Talk Day as well, which they've always been very key advocates for. So it'll be interesting to see if that maybe continues. I would hope it will because it should transcend that.
Exactly. They should be able to mention that and everything, even if they don't have proper videos and stuff on their website.
But they won't though, because it's a corporate thing, and they're not going to promote a company that's not a sponsor.
But other folk promote it as well, like other things that's not
if the
sponsored by Bell.
If the Whitecaps are smart, which can be questioned, they would rise above that and show that they are even though they don't have a deal with these guys anymore, they are still willing to sponsor and put the word out for this kind of stuff. It just makes sense.
Yeah, mental health awareness for me transcends any corporate stuff. So I would hope that they will still encourage that, maybe not as actively, but
it would be
you don't have to put
I would be surprised if they don't.
Yeah.
They don't have to put a 10-minute video out, just make a simple tweet. That's all you have to do. And how hard is that to do? It's not going to cost you anything over there.
Yeah. So a couple of things that Vanni talked about at training today. We'll get into the kind of systems and the defensive side of things in a sec. But I asked him about the start to the season and the fact that in recent years the MLS teams that are taking part in the Champions League have really got off to a slow start, and they're targeting not getting a slow start this year because of how that cost them so much last year. But he's still talking about just wanting this 22-man roster, and that was one of the questions I said to him. Does he feel that's going to be enough to be fighting on four fronts? And he still does, and he's talking about bringing guys up from WFC2 for maybe some of the other competitions. So reading between the lines, Canadian Championship, Leagues Cup, we could see these guys coming up. I just worry a little bit that I know he wants a smaller roster, 22-man roster, 22 starters. I worry a little bit about burnout. That is a concern.
Yeah, especially with the added games.
Yeah.
Which obviously they hope is going to be, 8 games is what they're, I think, hoping for, if I'm not miscalculating.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you would hope to get, if they can get through the League's Cup group, there's a chance that they could host.
Sorry, I forgot about those. I was just talking about.
Oh, you weren't even including those.
I was talking about the Champions League. Sorry. Right, if they go to the final, it'll be 8 games in the Champions League alone, right?
Oh, we've got the quadruple coming up, or the sextuple, as we talked about in the last show as well. But, I mean, there is a danger of burnout with a small squad, Steve. I mean, you can obviously add to it in the summer if that is the case, but this is a perfect world, of course. And that was what Vanni said. He's like, well, in a perfect world, we're going to be really focused and our players, things will be good. We'll start strong in MLS. We'll start strong in Champions League. It just takes 1 or 2 injuries to come along and that perfect world's suddenly unsettled.
And then you're scrambling to get people in. But typically, if you think of it, how many, 23 players is usually what you have roster-wise for, what you consider solid MLSers or people that can play. And then the rest of the roster kind of fits in where they're kind of on the verge of MLS, but more WFC2, kind of straddling that. So if that's the case, if they're WFC2 side, the players there are strong, and they have designated people they call up for different positions, I think it can work. But you're right. It all depends on because I know there's a max number of times you can call somebody up. So you have to really...
Yeah, you can call them up 4 times, but they can only play twice.
Yeah, so
and that's not changing for this year, right?
Not that we know, but then all the rules haven't come out yet, so who knows?
So you have to be very balanced and very, get an idea of what you're looking for. And you have to schedule things properly and get very lucky, because if you have a rash of injuries, say at, center back for something, but all of a sudden WFC2 has a rash of injuries at center back, you don't have those players there either. You can get very stuck behind the 8 ball there.
Yeah. Well, talking of centre-backs, that brings us on nicely to the rest of this part, what we're going to talk about, which defensively... Now, Har got a chance to speak to Vanni on Friday, so you can read her article, go to Har Journalist on Twitter for the link, and then we kind of followed up some of the stuff today. Right now, in his mind, the system that he wants to go with, his primary system, it's not set. It could be 3 at the back, it could be 4 at the back. He wants to see how it goes, which in a number of ways I quite like, because you want to make sure that you don't have a system and you're just trying to put people in it that's not going to work. But the flip side of that is it's also a little concerning that it's so up in the air. I think we'll see a lot of both 3 at the back and 4 at the back, though, to be honest.
If they're comfortable doing that, like, you have to make sure that everybody's comfortable switching back and forth between systems, because we've seen that where they do switch back and forth in the past.
I think by having the rotating roster of 22 players, you're going to maybe have some guys that will do this, some guys that will do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But will it actually be 4 at the back, or will it just be this, this fake thing that they did last year? Because I don't think
sounds like proper 4, but at the same time, I think Vanni kind of said to her, it's not kind of proper 4, but.
Because I don't think Vanni wants to. I think Vanni wants to. We know he doesn't like.
Oh, he loves 3. Like he's told me that 3 would be what he wants.
3 or 5 would be his ideal. Yeah.
But I like the idea of having like a fake 4 at the back or false 4 at the back, because then it kind of gets the other team thinking what's going on here, and it could if you can work it where you get an advantage out of it, then I don't have a problem with it. It's just you got to make sure the players are on top of it and it's not stopping their if playing. Like, that's the biggest concern.
Yeah.
When you got to make sure the players are in tune with what you're trying to do.
Well, if you look at some of the early games when Vanni took over, we were kind of wondering what was going on in some of the games, so I'm sure the opposition are confused as well. But, of course, the new centre-back, we talked about him last week, the Uruguayan Mathias Laborda, has now arrived in Vancouver. Everything is good. He's had 2 days here. He spoke at training today. I won't play that audio in the show this week. Might play it in next week's show, mainly because it's translated, and that's not always great for being on the podcast. He does speak English. He can listen to the questions in English, and then some he can answer in English, but he's just more comfortable just now, understandably, speaking in Spanish. But he's totally got communication on the pitch in English, so I mean, that's good, and there are Spanish speakers as well. Seems a great addition, seems a really nice lad as well. Does seem shorter than the 6 foot though, because he didn't seem to be towering over me, and I'm 5'8", and unless it was my new shoes that were making me taller, then it doesn't feel like he's 6 foot, but I don't know. That is what he's listed at. But he talked about he's wanting to come here to build on the success that he's had at Nacional. He's won 3 championships there. He wants to come here and win things. He's familiar with MLS. He's got friends that are playing in various clubs here in MLS, so he's spoken to them about the league, about Vancouver. He's delighted to be here, and he's hoping he can put himself in the window. He's been capped up to under 23 level at Uruguay, so he's hoping that this can help him take that next step to the national team. And I know we've been here before with certain players as we're like the stepping stone for them. And I don't know, maybe I'm just an eternal optimist, but this one feels a little different, that he really could be the guy that takes that step. That silence.
No. Sorry, I thought he was going to talk first. It is an exciting signing. I think his pedigree is better than the kind of player that they've gotten before from that position, even from Uruguay itself. And he seems like one of those players who could still make the breakthrough even for Uruguay, potentially. And yeah, I don't know. It's an exciting signing that I think you hope it doesn't. I guess the biggest thing for me is you hope it doesn't take him long to settle, right? You want him to settle
that's the biggest
as quickly as possible. The bigger thing, I think the questions that we'll have going forward is how does this impact those who are already there, and who gets to play with him, and that kind of stuff.
I mean, he's only 23 as well, so he's got a very bright future ahead of him. And I mean,
and center backs do develop later.
Yeah.
So he's right now, if you think of it, the way center backs develop, I think center backs are more in the 21 to 24 range when they actually start like forwards, midfielders, they might be a little bit earlier, but center backs are that age. I think he's right now in the prime of seeing where he can move up towards.
And he was very happy to be here, really smiley, obviously, the first time we spoke to him. So I didn't want to ask the question, how dirty are you? Have you grabbed other players' testicles? But we'll come to that during his time here. I'm pretty sure.
Not.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully we don't. Well, I was going to say, hopefully you can get away with it. With VAR, you can't get away with anything, really, these days.
No.
The other centre-back, I mean, if you look at the squad, there's actually only 2 new signed additions, and they're both centre-backs as of right now, which is Laborda and Karifa Yao, the signing that the Whitecaps picked up in the re-entry draft from Montreal. Been with the Montreal Academy since 2017, signed a homegrown deal, made 2 appearances with CF Montreal and MLS, spent the last 2 seasons in the CPL with Cavalry FC, and he's another young guy, 22-year-old, a really good prospect. We'll chat a little bit about him in a sec, but I want to play an interview that I did with him today, just asking about his move to Vancouver, his time with Cavalry and his career so far. So go stick the kettle on, grab your biscuit of choice, and sit back and listen to our chat with Karifa Yao. First thing really to ask you, how do you feel about being in Vancouver now? Because obviously new season starting, it's a change for you. How's everything feeling?
It's really exciting because I'm finally back in MLS, and that's something I was working a lot to be in a league like that, and especially in the Canadian team. That's really important for me, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy to start with the new pair. They are really, really kind. They accept me well the first day, so it's good.
Last couple of seasons, you've been in Canadian Premier League with Cavalry. Was that your choice to go and do that? Like, did you ask to go and get playing time, or did you sit down with Montreal and kind of just work out what the best path was going to be for you?
Yeah, like you said, I think we sat down and we saw that the best for me was just to play, to gain experience, because at the moment I was young. I'm still young, but that was to get experience, do mistake, learn from experienced player, and I think that finally when I think back at it, it was a good thing to choose that way.
I've known Tommy Wheeldon Jr. for a number of years now. He's quite the character. He's also a good mentor as well. What do you feel you've learned in your 2 years there, and how have you seen your game grow in those last 2 years?
Yeah, like you said, Tommy is a great mentor, a great boss. He's a guy that we want to learn from him, that we want to follow. And yeah, I learned a lot of things on the field, but especially off the field, to be more mature, like I said, to play like a man, to on the field, the communication. You learn a lot of things. It's hard to say especially what, but just I grew up like as a man, and yeah, it was an important 2 years of my life.
I know you've not been in Montreal for the last couple of years, but I mean you've been with them since 2017. Mm-hmm. You played your youth soccer obviously in Quebec and everything as well. Has it been tough to leave Quebec and to leave Montreal for you on a personal level?
I mean, not gonna lie, the first 2 months it was hard a bit because it was the first time I was away from my family. I didn't speak English really well, so I had to learn it. But now it's like it's okay. It's a new change, but that's the life I want to live, and I have to adapt to whatever situation that comes in front of me.
Were you surprised that Montreal let you go? Because I know a lot of us that have watched you play in the CPL thought, well, you're maybe going to push on now and have a chance to go back there. You just extended your contract last year with them. Were you surprised that they let you go?
I mean, it is not it's not my decision. That is football. Those things happen, and you just have to move forward.
But afterwards, the guy that's like the CEO of Montreal, he'd said that they didn't want to stand in your way of your development, and they didn't they didn't see you in their plan, so they wanted the best for you, which is actually quite good because a lot of clubs in the past have maybe kept players and kind of thwarted their development. But you're here now in Vancouver. What were the chats that you had with Vanni like? I mean, he spoke a little bit about you today, being here. He very much sees you as part of the plans here.
Yeah, we spoke on the phone. First, it was a good thing that it's good that the coach, say welcome to you and say that he's happy that I was there. So that was a good first contact. And yeah.
And the team this year is playing in 4 competitions. You've got Champions League coming up. You've got Leagues Cup coming up. So you're going to be playing Mexican opposition in the summer. You've got at least Honduras opposition just now. Does those kind of competitions really excite you?
Yeah, definitely. The Vancouver Whitecaps, they did really well last year to win the Canadian Championship, so they qualified for the Champions League. So that was really good. Like you said, 4 competition, a lot of games. We want to win as many games as possible. Every game is going to be important, so yeah, it's really exciting. 4 competition, when you think about it, that's really big for a team. That's good.
Last couple of things. You've played in MLS before. You've had a couple of appearances with Montreal, coming through as that homegrown player. When you think back to your debut back in 2020 against Philadelphia, what's your memories of that day? How special a moment was that for you?
It was a big moment. I remember with Thierry Henry against Philly. It was a huge moment. I was warming up, and then he said, "Carifa, come." And then I was like, oh my God, like after all the years in the academy and my local team in Quebec, and finally I have my debut. That was huge. That was amazing, and yeah, I remember every second of it.
Quebec soccer just now, it's going through quite a bit of a boom. We've seen all the players come through from Montreal. A guy like Ishmael Kone that came through from a lower team as well. I do commentary here, and I was doing the under-17 nationals, and the men, or the boys and the girls, it was 2 Quebec sides that won that. What is it about Quebec soccer just now, do you feel, that there's so much talent coming through?
Yeah, there's a lot of talent there in Quebec. They have a lot of great coaches too, great installation, great team that want to develop players, so it's really good. Quebec soccer is really developing a lot of players, and I think in the future year you're gonna see more guys like Ismail and like other players like Chouanga. I'm gonna say that's gonna explode and have a great career.
What's your hopes for this season, just to get as much playing time as possible and to just integrate into the team just as quickly as possible?
Yeah, I mean to impose myself. I'm a new player here, but I'm a competitor. I'm not here to sit around and adaptation. I'm here to play and impose myself and make new friends and new teammates. That's the goal.
Looking forward to going to Spain?
Definitely a good vacation. Not good vacation, but
yeah.
A lot of work there, but nice to travel there and experience new football, Spain football.
I've been to Marbella. It's beautiful. If you get a chance to go to Gibraltar, go down to Gibraltar. It's highly recommended.
Okay.
So Karifa Yao there, just chatting about his career, his journey to Vancouver. Interestingly, when we signed him, and we spoke at the time that Montreal said, we don't want to stand in the player's way for his development, and we were giving good plaudits to Montreal for that. But Karifa there says it wasn't his decision. He would have liked to have stayed in Montreal if he could, so the decision was made for him. And he went to the CPL to grow his game. He feels he's done that, and from watching him the last 2 seasons, Zach, he certainly has looked a top prospect. I think it's a great signing for the Whitecaps to get him.
Yeah, also another exciting option at center back for them, which again will make it interesting to see what happens for players like Ranko and Blackman and the like. That what you just said is really interesting, that Montreal tried to depict it as it's the player's choice, and then he said no, I had nothing to do with it, it was all Montreal's decision.
It's like,
that is really, 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 really interesting.
well, I mean, it is good though that they didn't sign him. I will still say, and then hold on to him with no intention of playing him and just loaning him out again. So at least he's got a better chance of developing the MLS thing here. So I mean, that is the good side. But yeah, it kind of was spun that they'd both had a chat and they'd both decided that was the way forward. Yeah, maybe not so much. Interesting as well that he'd said when he went to Cavalry, it was his first time really out of Quebec, away from home, and he didn't speak much English. And it's like totally fluent now in the 2 years there. But very high praise, Steve, of Tommy Wheeldon Jr. and what Tommy's done for him in developing as a player. And I think we could have a good player there. I think he'll see a lot of time in WFC2 as well. But he's got this deal which makes it easier then to float between the two sides.
Yeah, and he could be somebody like that, like maybe doesn't make an impact on the main Whitecaps roster this year, but in future years, like where he can develop and become that solid center back and, and be a starter. Maybe, again, not this year, maybe next year might be his year to be that. And it's a good investment on the Whitecaps' part, seeing how much he's developed over the last couple of years at Cavalry and bringing him into this role right now a year earlier before they actually need him.
Yeah. So we found out a lot of stuff there about Karifa, but one question we haven't found out yet. Does Karifa Yao fancy a chocolate digestive?
Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive, even though it's unsuggested? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive?
Last thing, we do this with all the new players. You're not a Whitecap until you answer these questions for our podcast. So if you're sitting at home and you want to have a hot drink, are you a tea guy, a coffee guy, hot chocolate?
I'm going to say hot chocolate.
And do you have a sweet tooth, and do you like biscuits, cookies?
No, I'm not fancy like that. Hot chocolate and that's it.
I'm it.
Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive, even though it's unsuggested? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive?
So Karifa Yao there has a little bit of a sweet tooth, but just for the hot chocolate. No sweet treats to go with it. That's fair enough. I mean, hot chocolate can be sweet enough. And of course, the Hot Chocolate Festival all set to start here in Vancouver. I think this week, maybe next week. I don't know if you guys have partaken in that before, or if you even know too much about it, with you guys being way out in the interior. We have the Hot Chocolate Festival, where it's very bespoke hot chocolate and it's paired with a kind of sweet treat. So it could be like thick drinking chocolate, or it could be like Mexican chocolate paired with certain shortbreads or baked goods. It's fantastic. Check out the website. They don't sponsor the show. If they would like to, we would take all the hot chocolate we can get. Although in saying that, I've got to say you can only have so much hot chocolate.
So I know of the Hot Chocolate Festival because I used to live in Vancouver and stuff like that. So I'm actually like a kind of like a refugee out here in Surrey, of Vancouver. But the reason why I don't partake in the chocolate festival is because I'm allergic to chocolate, as you know. So I would not partake in that anyways.
Totally forgot that. Oh,
no worries.
I might have to change your Christmas present. No, that's a joke. It's not chocolate related. Anyway, that will bring this part to an end. We'll be back with more football chat after this.
Hi, I'm Brian White, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Disagree. 'Cause when madman flicks a switch. The nuclear will go for me. The lunatics have taken over the asylum. The lunatics have taken over the asylum.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's another song from our Artist of the Month's repertoire, discography, Terry Hall. When he finished with his specials initially, he formed the band Funboy 3 with London and Neville from the specials as well. They went on to have a number of hits. They kind of worked with Bananarama as well, kind of gave them their break. That was a song from 1981. You can find it on their self-titled debut album that came out the following year. It reached number 20 in the UK charts, and that was The Lunatics Have Taken Over the Asylum. Back to the football chat now, and back chatting Whitecaps, because they were back at it today. Now, Vanni was a bit non-committal as to how many players are still to come in. I think it's pretty safe to say that a goalkeeper and a striker are going to be the two key positions that they're still going to be looking at. Talking of the goalkeeper, right now Vanni said that Thomas Asao is still the number one, but he is open to someone coming in to challenge him. And then he was asked, does it have to, or are you looking to add a veteran? He said, it doesn't have to be a veteran. I just want a good, qualified keeper, doesn't matter what age, that can really challenge Thomas for that number one spot. And I think that is the way of looking at it. There's always so much focus on bringing a veteran keeper in, but what classes as a veteran now? That's something that Daniil Henry said to me years ago that's always stuck with me. If you've been playing since you're 18 and you're 24, 25 now, you're a veteran. So we have to get, and with all respect to Isaac Boehmer and Max Anker, who I think both could develop into really good keepers, but we do need to get that top keeper in to be challenging Thomas Hasal.
Yeah.
Who also looks a lot bigger than he did last year, but maybe that's because I wasn't at training much and didn't see him in person.
Would you mean taller?
Taller, he just seems to have stretched. It's the Theo Bair effect.
No, I think you're spot on with that, Michael.
Moving to the other end of the pitch and up front, some Twitter rumours today. The Whitecaps have been linked with the 24-year-old, soon to be 25-year-old, as in next week, Israeli forward Tai Baribo. He's a 5'9" striker. Don't know anything about him. I've never heard of him until I did this Google search just now. He's had 5 caps with the Israeli national team at senior level. Capped at under-21 and under-19 level 2. Played 4 seasons in Israel with Maccabi Petah Tikva. Scored 22 goals in 96 appearances with them. Then signed a 2-year deal on a free with Austrian Bundesliga side Wolfsberger. 13 goals and 2 assists in 32 appearances last season with Wolfsberger. But this season, he's really caught fire. 25 games played across all competitions. 14 goals, 4 assists. 2 of those goals came in Champions League qualifiers as well. So he's done it at a high level. It's an interesting one. I don't know anything about him. It doesn't need to be a big name for me, as long as it's a guy that can find the back of the net. I watched some highlights video for him, and he certainly has good movement, can lose defenders, can turn well in the box, and can finish. His coach at Wolfsburg has kind of downplayed the rumours, but the rumours initially came out on a proper Israeli sports station. So I think it does add a little bit of credence to them. But I don't know anything about him, but he looks like he could be a bit of a tasty prospect.
Yeah, I know you mentioned 5'9". A lot of places have him at 5'11", which, 2 inches, whatever. I think it's more about his shiftiness in the box.
2 inches don't matter. I tell Caitlin that all the time.
Sure. But yeah, a lot. Like I said, a lot of work in the box. He seems to be able to score from different positions, like from the head, and strike it from distance and stuff like that. So, I don't know. Like, you're right. Like, Austrian league is a pretty decent league. It's not like obviously one of the top 5, leagues, but it's a pretty decent league. So if he's scoring in there, then it's bound to be a good addition if they are able to make him an addition. The thing is, he signed his contract in July of 2021. It was a 2-year deal.
It was a 2-year deal.
So he's got a 6-month deal. Is this like going to be like one of those pre-contract things where we won't see him until July, though?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Well, what I'm hoping for is that the Whitecaps could say, because apparently they've put an offer in for him.
Okay, if they did an offer, that's different.
Yeah, I'm hoping they've said, look, he's going to be free in the summer. You could lose him in the summer. We'll give you this now and take him now. I'm
assuming if the offer is in, that means they've probably come into deal with the player, right? Because isn't that how it works?
In Europe, it should be able to have had a chat with him, I would have thought.
Yeah, especially considering he's got less than 6 months left in his deal at this point. Yeah.
Now, this is me in speculation city here. Yeah. But I had asked today for training, is Vanni and Axel going to speak before training? Are they going to speak after training? And it was like, Vanni will speak after. Axel's in Europe. Not Axel's still in Germany.
Yeah.
So obviously I then went on the speculation train and thought, maybe he's just hopped over to Austria to do a little bit of business here.
Yeah, Wolfsburger is not one of the bigger sides in the Austrian Bundesliga, but
I'm just looking at where they
were
standing on the table
fourth
just
last
now.
year, and they got knocked
third at the moment.
Yeah, they were fourth last year. They got knocked out of Europe, I think in qualifying or early on. The last time I saw them play actually was Kirk and I watched the Feyenoord documentary on Disney Plus over the holidays.
Sorry, just to interrupt you. They're not third. They were third last year. They're 9th this year.
Oh, I thought Wikipedia said they were fourth last year.
Oh, I was just in Wiki just now and it said third. But anyway, they're currently 9th.
20, 21, 22, fourth of 12th in Austria Bundesliga, it says on Wikipedia. And yeah, so in that series, that one word, Feyenoord, they were in the same what's it called, conference, Europa Conference group with Feyenoord, and I think upset them and also helped create the situation where Feyenoord did not advance out of the group stage, which was a big problem. So they're not a big club, but they have caused some waves.
Yeah, they've got pedigree
sometimes.
Now, I didn't know the Bundesliga, they've got a regular stage and a championship round. So they were third in the regular season and then fourth in the championship round.
Okay. Yeah, see, I forgot about that. They're like, it's like Scotland, right, where they divide or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that. Good old Rapid Vienna. Yeah, but the player, I don't know much about, but it sounds like there's potential there. There sounds like there's lots of upside possibly, and so it sounds like a player to. I think I saw on Twitter and all this talk on Twitter that he's only on like under 300,000 a year, so it's maybe a TAM player. Maybe they'll call him a DP, but he'll be like a TAM-ish kind of player, and like it's a good shout, like, you know what I mean, in terms of looking to find someone who's doesn't cost a crazy amount, but the return might be significant.
Yeah, and has a pedigree for scoring goals. I'd look to see if he'd played against Scotland, because Scotland seem to play Israel every couple of months for a spell there. But his appearances for Israel, the 5 that he's made, weren't. He did make his debut against Germany in a 2-0 loss. So if you watched that one, Zach, you might have seen him.
Oh, yeah, I think I did see parts of that game.
But it's an interesting one. Talking about TAM, I mean, it looks that Laborda is going to be TAM, so his salary could be round about the 700,000. You've got to kind of wonder how much TAM and GAM and thank you, ma'am, that they've got left to splash about.
They spent some in the draft, and obviously they brought some in through Cornelius signing or transfer.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so there is somebody coming in, somebody going out. It's just a matter of hopefully nothing got expired. Like the last thing you want expired TAM.
Oh, there's no way they would let it expire, right? Like,
yeah, because it'll curdle then, and then you don't.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had expired spam, and it was
like
okay.
Axel has talked about how important it is to use their thing and why they've used it on different things at different times. They're not going to let it expire. There's no way.
Yeah, for sure.
No, they are, like we jest, but they are very, very clued in on that.
And I think they get like a bump up because they're in the Champions League. Like even if it's through Voyagers Cup, they will get some from MLS because the MLS wants, even no matter how you qualify, they want all their MLS teams to be, have bigger players to bump up their teams.
Yeah, because like right now, if you look at the Whitecaps roster, there's 4 forwards officially listed on it. So there's Diber Caicedo, Christian Dahomey, Brian White, and Simon Betcher. So right now you're looking that Brian White's going to be leading the line. But then there's a bit of a drop-off. We won't go into the whole Dahomey thing again and Caicedo and stuff, but they need to get somebody in. And I don't think it's something that can wait either until this summer. They really need to hit the ground running with the guy that they want as their striker. So I don't think this guy's going to come in as a DP, I wouldn't have thought.
No,
but
I don't think so either.
There's still that DP spot open, so maybe they look to bring in 2 strikers.
Well, so first off, one, it would be unfortunate if this was a DP signing. Michael, I know we had this conversation. I can't remember if it was part of the show or just for fun afterwards. But was there not? Obviously, it seems like they've dealt with the center back. It doesn't look like they're gonna. That seems like it's done. Was there talk about a midfielder, a striker, and a quote unquote winger, which you clarified to be an attacking player?
Yeah,
center forward?
There was the 4. No, it wasn't a midfielder. The 4 positions looked at were centre back, goalkeeper, winger, and striker.
And winger as in wide.
Winger stroke midfielder, I guess, because Vanni doesn't necessarily like wingers.
I think it would be more like a wing back or something like that, more than a winger.
I would hope it was more an offensive thing. I mean, Vanni did say one of the things is he wants to be more offensive this year, and I said, if you want to be more offensive, I'll have some words for you. I can teach you how to be that.
Yeah, you can take your shirt off. That's offensive enough.
The other guy that's kind of around at the moment is Levante Johnson, who was the Whitecaps' second pick in the Super Draft year. He was taken 29th overall, but he was rated in the top 7 by Top Drawer Soccer as the best players overall, and he looks a exciting prospect as well. I think he might take the Simon Betcher route and have a lot of time in WFC too. But
I think that's the ideal way. The ideal way because because there is a bit of a jump from college to a pro, and in almost every sport there is a little bit of a jump. So a little bit of seasoning in WFC too, with a couple of call-ups like Betcher had. I think that's the ideal way to do it for Levante Johnson.
Yeah, I think it is as well. But he looks such a good talent, and we'll chat a little bit more about him in a sec. I'll play you a chat that I had with him at Train today. Again, just chatting about his journey to Vancouver, his college career, and what's been a very exciting couple of days for him. So I stick the kettle on again, go grab another biscuit of choice, and listen to our chat with Levante Johnson. So, first of all, Levante, welcome to Vancouver. I know it's been a whirlwind couple of days for you. You've maybe not had a huge chance to see the city. Have you been to Vancouver before?
No, I've been to Seattle though, because so it's not too far, about 2-hour drive from the university, but haven't been here. But it's beautiful.
I was going to say you seem to like the Pacific Northwest because obviously you're at Seattle University, Portland Timbers under 23, so now you're here in Vancouver, so that's a good thing. Let's go back to draft day. It was weirder than previous years because it was remote and it was earlier, so you didn't really get the chance to be there, but you did get to be with your family.
Yeah.
So did that make it more special having family and friends just there with you?
Of course, because they've been my support throughout my entire career, so just to be able to spend that time with them and cherish the moment with them was amazing.
You were highly ranked going in at the draft. Top Drawer Soccer had you somewhere in the top 7. I can't remember because 5, 6 and 7 were the 3 guys that we got. And I know that you were in amongst there. And I think a lot of folk thought you were going to go a lot higher. But we've seen this before with Canadian players and the rules in MLS. It makes it a bit tougher. Were you starting to get concerned at all that you hadn't gone?
I don't really try to look too much at the mock draft because, like, from previous years, it's never really too accurate. So I just try to focus on, what teams I've talked to and, try to best prepare for what team would be able to draft me and do my best there. But as the draft was going on, I was like, oh, maybe I will go a bit later. But then, thankfully, Vancouver picked me. It's a beautiful situation, so I'm very happy about it.
Yeah. So I was going to ask about what contact Vancouver had with you. Had they spoken to you in depth before? No. So it was a complete surprise.
Just surprised. I was surprised when they picked me. I was like, oh wow. So I'm definitely happy about it, though.
Yeah, you look very happy, and I mean, we're glad to have you here. Looking back at your college career, it's an unusual path for you because you've had 4 different universities. You've also been in 3 different championship games over those 4 years as well, which is absolutely incredible. I guess that the first question is, what was with the moves? Was it just a foot in the door initially and then just doing better and better and moving to bigger and bigger?
Initially, I was in Florida. I started my junior college career in Florida. And that's exactly when the pandemic hit. So they closed down our men's program, actually. So I had to find a different junior college. And I ended up in Utah, Salt Lake Community College. And my 2 years of JUCO was done after that year when we won the championship. And then I went to Seattle. And, we won our conference. We got a NCAA tournament berth. And I just wanted to be a bit closer to home because my last year, I was able to move and I could be closer to home and, kind of get the home-cooked meals from my mom, and my parents could drive down for the game, so it was very nice. And then that was kind of like my last stop before coming here.
Oh, that's fantastic. And what a last stop that was at Syracuse. I watched the final and the shootout, and even just going back before that, you scored the winning goal in the Final Four game that took you to the final. What was that moment like for you?
It was amazing. As our other striker, Nathan Apoku, got the ball, I seen he kind of took a touch, and from then I knew I was composed, so I kind of did a double movement to try to lose the defender and just got an easy tap in front of the goal. So it was definitely a special moment, sending us to our first national final.
And then to win that final, to score in the shootout as well, what is that day like for you?
It was funny because on my pen, I shot it and it kind of hit the crossbar and bounced around, and their bench and team jumped up because they thought they won, and I kind of jogged back laughing. So it was a funny moment and special for sure.
I mean, it's a select club that you're in. There's not many players obviously win this and then go on to have the career. Is this something that you've always wanted to be a professional footballer?
Of course, from I was very young as when I kind of had the dreams to aspire to be a professional footballer, and hopefully I'm on the right path to that right now.
And from Brampton, Ontario, there's so many players come out of Brampton. I just spoke to Karifa about the players that's come out of Quebec, but Brampton as well. For a small city, the amount of players that's been produced from there, what is it about the youth soccer there that's so good?
I know, I think it's something in the water.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I think it's because, it's for some reason it's a hot spot for a lot of good players to just come from, and we grow up playing against each other throughout our years as youth growing up, and that definitely helps with our development. Just playing against the best of the best week in and out. So I think that, I don't know, it's weird for some reason that they all happen to be from Brampton, but that's the way it is.
The Mac Herman Trophy this weekend, in the top 3 for that, what was that experience like for you?
It was amazing. Alexi Lawless actually came and he was talking there, and I got to meet him, shake his hand. Met a bunch of people at the Mac Herman Athletic Club. It was a special experience there. They treated me really well. Unluckily, I didn't win it, but just being there I'm very grateful for that. To just be nominated as one of the finalists is very special for me.
Now, you're here in Vancouver now. What's the chat's been like then with Vanni? I know you might not want to give too much away in a lot of its personal chats with the two of you, but does he see you MLS ready just now? Do you think you might go down the kind of route that our draft pick last year, Simon, did, MLS Next Pro, prove yourself there, get some call-ups to the first team, and then just take your opportunity? Or do you think you could be in the mix right away with so many competitions this year?
I'm not really sure. We haven't really talked about that situation side of things, but I'm just hoping to do my best, impress enough to hopefully make the MLS roster right away. That's the goal.
And how have you found it? It's the early days, you've just had a couple of training sessions. Is the pace a little bit more higher than you're used to, or pretty much the same?
Higher than college for sure, but I feel like I've gotten used to it in the 2 days that I've been here, and just a bit tired with the fitness tests we've been doing.
Yeah. I know I was hoping we were going to see the beep test today, but they did that yesterday.
Yeah, they did it yesterday.
I love watching those.
But yeah, it's been a good 2 days. Hopefully Spain, we get to enjoy the nice weather. I can see the sun again for once. So.
Yeah, it does get nice here. Marbella is a lovely place to go. If you get a chance to go to Gibraltar on a trip, because it's just a short hop over to Gibraltar, try and do that.
Okay.
It's an absolutely beautiful place. But obviously, new club fitting in. But Ryan Raposo here, you've played with him, you've played against him. Talk a little bit about that.
Growing up, he was on, I think, Burlington growing up, and I was in the Brampton area, and their team was always very good, so it was always very competitive matches playing against them. He was always good from a young age, and then kind of when we were around 13, 12-ish, we made the provincial team together for Team Ontario, and we played together for that year, and kind of like went back to our separate clubs, but I know him very well.
What's your hopes then for this pre-season? Just to kind of just show that you belong and just that they've made the right decision, I guess. Because
they did have hope in me and drafting me. They wanted me here to just show the quality that they think I have and to prove them right, and hopefully make it on the MLS roster and make an impact with the first team.
Good luck. Pleasure to see you here, and I'm looking forward to seeing you play this year.
Thank you.
So Levante Johnson there, and he's absolutely delighted to be here in Vancouver. Interestingly, a number of MLS teams had chatted with him before the draft, but Vancouver weren't one of them. So it came as a complete surprise to him that Vancouver took him, but he's absolutely delighted that they took him. And although he didn't play for the Sounders, he did go to university for a year in Seattle. He played for the Timbers under-23, so he's now got the Cascadia trifecta. He's in Vancouver. So he obviously loves the Pacific Northwest, but he's had an interesting couple of days because now he's here in his first pro environment, and he was just at the Mac Herman Trophy Awards over the weekend, Steve, as well. Didn't win it, but he made the top three, and that's a big thing.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, a lot of teams out there in other sports, they will never talk to the players that they're interested in directly, but they will talk to people that person's been associated with in order to find out about them, and in order to make sure that nobody realizes that they're talking to each other, because you want to have a surprise, because somebody might trade up past you in order to get that player, so you want to make sure that nobody knows who you're interested in.
But he looks such a good talent. He's scored all over, and it's an interesting one. He had 4 different universities, and as he explained there, the reason for that is partly because he's moved up and got better and better. He started off in junior NCAA, and then he reached a championship game with Eastern Florida State College, the Trojans, and then won the championship with Salt Lake Community College, and then won a conference championship with Seattle, and then this year with Syracuse won overall the national championship. So he's been to 3 championships in his 4 years at college, which is tremendous. And we played the audio in the last show, Vanni talking about him. He's brought him in, he knows he's a winner, and he likes that winning mentality. And this is a guy that knows how to win, he knows how to score. He scored in the semi-final that took them to the final of the College Cup. Scored that penalty in the College Cup. I'm excited to see what he can do. And I know I've said that about draft picks before, and I know last year it was the curse of AFTN that everyone we spoke to in January wasn't here come February. I'm hoping it's going to be different this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like you're talking about him like moving up and everything like that. I think a lot of people probably saw the development of him. I think I mentioned in one of the previous shows that like the Charlotte manager before he got fired told him that he was going to draft him number 1. So there was like probably a lot of people that saw the development. Some people might not have seen it, and so they weren't paying attention. That's why he slipped so far, even though Top Door Soccer had him at number 7 in overall as a prospect.
So let's see what he can do. Should be good. Seems another really good guy, really good character to have around as well. And from Brampton. I mean, you're from Ontario, Zach. What is it about Brampton? He says it's something in the water there. He just doesn't know. But there's so many players that's come through from Brampton.
My aunt and uncle and cousins live there. I used to visit there multiple times a year growing up.
So what happened to you? How come you're not a pro?
I didn't drink enough of the water, apparently.
Okay.
That's always my downfall as well. I keep getting told by the doctor at my annual physicals, drink more water. I'll just get some Brampton stuff. They should bottle it and make an absolute fortune. So we learned a lot about Vanni Johnson there. There is one thing we don't know yet. Maybe he fancies a chocolate digestive. Spoiler, no. We ask this to all the new players. She knows what's coming. You're not a Whitecap until you answer this question. So you're sitting at home, you want a hot drink. You're a tea guy, coffee guy, hot chocolate guy.
Funny enough, I don't drink hot beverages, but if I was to drink one, it'd be tea.
Okay. Do you have a sweet tooth? Do you like biscuits?
Mint tea with a lot of sugar.
Oh, but no like sweet treat to go with it?
I don't know. I don't normally drink the hot beverage, so I don't really. Yeah.
Well, what do you drink?
It's water.
Okay. That's one of our most boring answers, but that's okay.
Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive, even though it sounds suggestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive?
Vanni Johnson there, and no, not really for the sweet treats, not even for the hot beverages either. He's just a water man. Obviously, it's that good old Brampton water. That is it for this part. We'll be back with some more football chat after this.
Hi, I'm Ryan Raposo, and you're listening to the AFTN Show.
I guess I kinda sorta know I ought to be thinking of you, but a friendship's built on trust, and that's something you never do. Well, who knows, maybe tomorrow we can share each other's sorrow and compare our graveside manner as we wave our lonely banners. Ever think of me, I'll be thinking of you. If you decide to change your view, I'm thinking of you. You can walk away from loneliness anytime you choose. And you're the sort of person that hasn't anything to lose. But who cares, maybe tomorrow you can lead and I could follow. So walk where angels fear to tread, for everything you've ever wanted. And if you ever think of me, I'll be thinking of you.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's another song from the back catalogue of Terry Hall, this time from the band The Colourfield, which was the band he formed after Funboy 3. This was their third single, released in 1985 from their debut album Virgins and Philistines, reached number 12 in the UK charts. That was Thinking of You. And we'll have more songs from Terry Hall, a lot of special songs coming up over the rest of this month. This part, I want to move away from the Whitecaps chat. I want to just have a general talking point. We're going to do this over the course of the year. I'm going to bring up a subject, something that's maybe caught my eye, tickled my fancy, and...
Let me guess. We're going to be talking about soccer parents.
No.
No? You don't want to talk about soccer
I'm going to save that because I've got an extra podcast that I didn't get a chance to bring out, and we'll talk about that next week because, yeah, that is something
for us to definitely delve into. I want to see what more comes out of that as well, so that could be interesting. No, we're going to talk about something. I don't like talking about Alexi Lalas. And this is going to be the second time we mentioned him on the show, because Levonte Johnson talked about meeting him at the Mark Herman Trophy and like shaking hands with him and stuff. Now, obviously, he is a legend in the American game. I can't really take to him, I've got to say. But he had a tweet on December 28th that garnered a lot of attention. And I'd been thinking about something about this myself. We kind of chatted a little bit about it on my East Fife show and stuff. He had tweeted out after the World Cup, how do you improve soccer? And of course, whenever an American tweets out, how do you improve soccer, everyone else, especially from the UK, piles on him like, you Americans, you're trying to change the sport. What's wrong with it? Just go with it, blah, blah, blah. But he gave some examples about how to make soccer better. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, but one in particular, which is what I'd been thinking about. So his examples were, you make the goals bigger, 2 points for goals outside of the penalty area, 35-yard shootout instead of penalty kicks, a kick-in option instead of a throw-in, a hockey penalty box for player punishment, offside only applies for the last 35 yards, and handball simply any ball contact with hand or arm. So I want to just get into a couple of those. Making the goals bigger, I mean, I dismiss that right away unless either of you...
Yeah. No, 100% dismissal.
Yeah, okay. 2 points for goals outside a penalty area, not a fan of that either.
Again, dismissed.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
The 35-yard shootout instead of PKs, I'm open to that. Like, not during a game, but instead of a penalty shootout, to have that, I feel is a bit more skillful.
I understand that, but these guys can't score. We've seen it where they can't score from 12 yards or whatever it is, like where the penalty spot is. I don't know how long are we going to sit around watching people totally sky it and how many missing that. I don't think it's going to be skillful, and I think players would be totally against it because they're just going to be like Harry Kane was made fun of so much because he skied the penalty. How much do you think these guys are going to be made fun of when they can't even hit the net from 35 yards out?
It would depend what the rules were, like what the keeper could do and stuff for me. But I think it's got potential.
So a month ago, or roughly a month ago, the YouTube channel Tifo Football, who makes really quality videos, I think they're connected to the Athletic.
I like their videos.
Yeah, they put out one called "Can Penalty Shootouts Be Improved?" And they talked about this as an option, and it having been done, I think, in MLS or whatever back in the day.
This is probably what Alexi Lalas probably stole it from.
Oh, maybe.
Well, I don't know, but they basically said looked at all the things and said it probably can't. Like it's probably, this is the way we have it is probably the most quote unquote fair.
Back in NASL, they had a thing where you grab the ball, you have 10 seconds to get to the net and score or something like that. Even that I don't think is good.
I'd struggle to run 35 yards in 10 seconds, I think.
I don't know how far out they were, but they were I don't even know how many seconds it was exactly, but it was something like that.
In that video they talked about all the options. They talked about doing that. They talked about taking decreasing the number of players on the pitch so the game keeps going.
That I don't mind as an idea either, actually. I quite like that.
But again, they thought, okay, you're asking tired players to run even more. There's more space and more running to be done.
You're opening up the space, yeah, exactly.
I mean, to be fair, Lucas Cavallini tried that approach during a lot of Whitecaps games, just reducing the players on the pitch.
And then they talked about, what was the other? Oh, they talked about actually making it more like a one-on-one thing, or like a 1v1 trying to score as opposed to just like a penalty. So almost but it almost turned into to an all-star game.
Even the one-on-one, you're putting forwards that are probably faster in a one-on-one position where defenders are more. It's more of I don't know how you want to explain that. There's not athleticism, but there's more strategy in the way people play defender, right? So I don't know if that would work too. The one thing I thought might be a good option would be the kick in instead of throw in, but it's gotta be.
I saw that during COVID.
it shouldn't be an option though. It should be just you just change it all. Everything that goes out of bounds goes kicking, like it's kicked in.
Well, they're
And I
trying
think
to
that would
reduce
open
the
up.
headers in the game as well, so that could maybe do that. But of course, the ball could still be in the air. But when
you'd still be there.
when the VMSL came back during COVID, which was briefly just for 6 games, they had kick-ins instead of throw-ins, and I thought, I don't know that would work, but I actually really liked it.
I think it'll speed up the game, and I think that the players I think it moves it faster because when you throw it up in the air, you get people jumping up in the air. But whereas you have the option of either kicking it long in the air into the box, or you could kick it short along the deck. I think that's where the option goes, because you can't really do that with a throw in. It's always going to bounce around.
What would have happened to the career of Rory Delap?
Yeah, see, I do like a long throw though as well. So yeah.
How about that guy that in Central Washington? I can't remember that.
Wasn't that the other Ben Fisk?
It was the other Ben Fisk. Yeah. The not so good Ben Fisk,
or the
American Ben
beloved
Fisk.
players in USL like West Knight.
Yeah, the American Ben Fisk sounds like the Scottish Messi. It's like, we've just christened this guy the American Ben Fisk. Just quickly going back to penalty shootouts, I don't think I mentioned this last month. I actually loved the camera work for this World Cup, where the shootout shot was from you're behind the guy taking the shot. I thought that was an excellent innovation, and it makes you see how difficult it actually is for the kicker as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, much better than the other angle.
Yeah, I really liked that. The hockey penalty box for player punishment, again, I'm open to that. Rugby's got the sin bin.
They actually, I think a couple of years ago when we were filming, recording this at UBC or whatever, I think I mentioned there was an article that came up where they were going to try some stuff in lower leagues in hockey.
Well, something like the Leagues Cup would be a great chance for doing stuff like this.
Totally,
because it keeps the players on the pitch, but it gives an advantage to the other team for a certain period. Like you could do 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on the thing. But if you have too many of those situations, that's when you start getting the yellow or red cards.
Yeah. So something like I quite like that idea as well. So the last two, I'll go to the handball one first, because this is pissing me off so much. Like the handball rule, there's been some big debates in Scotland at the moment because of something that happened in the Old Firm game, which looked like it should have been a clear penalty. The referee didn't see it, and you can see him mouthing to the VAR official, it's up to you to take the call, and the VAR official didn't make the right call, which then cost Celtic the victory in the end. And I think that was what Alistair Johnson was talking about. I don't know if you saw that during the week. He had said about, it's a handball, basically the referees have got it in for us, and was already criticised by the Rangers fans for having the Celtic paranoia.
But he also talked about milk.
Oh, I missed that.
I think he was talking about bags and milk, like they have them in Ontario or something, and it turned into memes and jokes.
And folk were like, what they're doing over in Canada? Yeah. But handball, like Alexi says, handball, any ball contact with the hand or arm should be a foul, a penalty, or whatever. No. I'm kind of going towards that because there's so much confusion. It's like if you're defending your face, it's okay, but or accidental against you, brushing against you. I don't know.
No, for me, it's if it's a handball, if you made movement, like if your hand is there and it clips off somebody and you didn't move your hand at all and it hits your hand, I don't think it should be handball. Like if there's got to be some semblance of human error when doing handball, and I don't like the fact that everything is so strict and on point in these calls. They got to be some kind of like judgment in there. That's why I'm not a huge fan of the offsides when it's like an armpit kind of thing.
This was the last one I was going to come to
about the handball. Yeah. I thought about the handballs. I think we're probably in the best place we've ever been with handballs because we have VAR and they are able to look at it and make decisions and whatever. The immediate problem that you have if you say it's any part of the hand, arm, it's automatic penalty, is then you just have players running in the box and aiming for people's hands and arms.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of farcical in the box.
That's very true as well.
It'll be the new flopping in the box. It'll be the new flopping in the box, just aiming for somebody's hand.
Now, The last thing of Alexis, which is offside, only applies to the last 35 yards, which seems to be a phrase I cannot say when I'm reading this for the third time. But what had got me thinking about all this was I've just got so pissed off with like what Steve said. It's like an armpit or a leg, or you're leaning and you're offside because you're just slightly leaning in. There was some horrible ones like that in the FA Cup this past weekend, to bring it back to that. But I just think with VAR being in and having this now, I think it's ruining the game. Are we at a stage that we just get rid of offside altogether?
You know what? I'm opposite of what he's mentioning. Like, I know this might not make sense or it might not work, but I think the closer you are to the net, the more offside should not play a part. Like, once you're in the box, I say there should be no offside in the box, because you should be able to mark anybody you can. Like, you should be able to, like,
I'd take that.
I think going towards the net in the rest of the, like, from the box and on, that's the part that should be where you can get called offside, because it's a movement towards the net. Whereas when you're in the box, you're really not moving toward. And there's been some stupid ones where people have been just like getting up and they happen to be in front of the goalie and it get called offside. I think a goalie should be able to, if you can, like, you should be able to interfere with the goalie or screen the goalie on one of these shots. Like, I think there's no problem with that for me. So I'm thinking the opposite, where from the box and in, no offside. Basically everything goes whatever you can, because you're a defender. You should be able to mark your man, and maybe you'll get to some of this zonal marking out of the game, which I hate. So that
I think a penalty box, no offside in the penalty box, that would be transformative. That could be potentially interesting, I guess. But
or even just from 18 yards, like either side of the penalty box as well. But
I had something that I don't think works at all. But during the World Cup, or was it? I forget what it was. A friend of mine, who I can't remember if it was a football person or not. I think it was a non-football person, said, "Why would they consider, because you want to give the advantage to the attacker? Could they say it's not his furthest part of their body forward? It's the furthest part that's back that needs to be in line."
That's very similar to hockey and their offside rule. If you keep your foot, like your foot that's the furthest back on the line or whatever, before the puck gets in, you're okay. Like, part of your body can be over the line until the puck gets over, and as long as your back skate is on the line, you're okay. You're onside. So I like that idea too.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting idea.
I can't even remember what the game was, because I watched so many of them this weekend. One of the FA Cup games, it was one of the underdogs. They had the goal disallowed because so much about that much of his shoulder was just past the other one with a line. It's just, when you get to that, it's just so stupid. I would just be for getting rid of it altogether, which I know it's not just about attackers, it's the defensive part of the game. You're taking that away as well. But surely it means you've got to be a better defender then.
I would like to see some of these friendlies, these international friendlies. I know they have a little bit to do with the FIFA rankings and stuff like that, but some of these international friendlies, that's where you want to use some of these weird rules. Like maybe the club friendlies or whatever. Maybe you can implement some of this, not just at the MLS level, but other levels too, to see like top talent, how they work with these rules. I'd like to see that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So let us know if there's any rules that you would love to see changed in football, and we'll maybe have another chat about that. If there's anything kind of big talking points that you'd like us to just have a little mull over as well, let us know that as well. That is pretty much it for the show though. We're going to finish though with this episode's wavelength, and as I mentioned at the start, it's a kind of a tribute to Gianluca Vialli. Now, I couldn't find any songs about him. I don't have any songs that he's sung, and I thought, well, he won the FA Cup with Chelsea back in 2000 when he was the manager, so I've dug out the Chelsea 2000 FA Cup squad song that they brought out before that final. And then the big thing of FA Cup songs, some of them are terrible, some of them are average. This is one of the better ones. It's called Blue Tomorrow, and this is Chelsea's 2000 FA Cup squad.
Will there ever be a tomorrow.
Believe it, all right?
No matter how long we've had to wait, it's all been worth it. Unwrapping our dreams from cellophane. Now we all deserve it. It's hard to believe that only yesterday we were worried about Stamford Bridge and the future. But he believed that things could change. Now the blue tomorrow gets closer each day. We will follow the Chelsea till our dying day. Just look over your shoulder, see the army dressed in blue. We'll go where you go and fight every fight with you. Chelsea, 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 Chelsea. So many years with so much stress, but we didn't mind it. Now we live on the edge of great success, and we quite like it. You gotta believe that we are proud of what you've done, and no matter what, we're gonna be the champions, and we'll be there as we are now. Cause the blue tomorrow gets closer each day. We will follow the Chelsea till our dying day. Just look over your shoulder, see the army dressed in blue. We'll go where you go and fight every fight with you. Chelsea, 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 Chelsea. There'll be blue hotels and bars when there's football life on Mars. We're gonna rule the universe, cause we're Chelsea, 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 Chelsea. Let's sing blue is the colour and give Wembley its last blue day. Cause Chelsea, Chelsea, Chelsea is the way. 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 Chelsea, 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 Chelsea. You are a famous fan, so we thank you all very much, and we all agree you are the best for CFC.
Blue tomorrow, Chelsea's 2000 FA Cup squad there. Chelsea beat Aston Villa 1-0 in the final, thanks to Roberto Di Matteo, 73rd minute winner. Gianluca Vialli, the manager. R.I.P. Gianluca. But that is it for this episode of the show. Just before we go, any final thoughts, Steve? Where can folk find you online? Anything that caught your eye this week?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat, and we were talking about obviously the Whitecaps going to Spain and playing just the one game against Hamburger. Why not play? And we talked about the owner, the Whitecaps owner, part owner that owns a Spanish team, Mallorca. I'm thinking, and I mentioned Nash Cup as possibly. I thought of a better name. I'm thinking like let's rename it to the Hanging in Tough Cup. I think that's a proper name. I know a lot of Whitecaps fans were tweeting at Steve Nash those remarks when he got fired from the Brooklyn Nets. So I think this was a pretty ideal name for that cup going forward.
It would be a great name because there's all the new guys, the new kids on the block with the Whitecaps as well. So that would tie in perfectly.
Nice.
Zach, any final thoughts?
You can find me on Twitter at ZacharyAM. And no, just all the best to the Whitecaps as they go to Spain and have an adventure of a preseason there. Hope it goes well for them.
I just want to give a shout out to Jerky21. I always pronounce his name wrong.
Yerky, is it?
Yerky21.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
He's done a mock-up of the Whitecaps hoop shirt with the AFTN logo on it, and I've got to say it looks really smart. So I'm going to retweet that out, and that should be the way forward.
It's Yurke, because it was. I think he's named himself after like a Yurke Lume, who was a Vancouver Canucks defenseman from the 90s.
So Yurke21, love that mock-up. Well done. I'm Michael McCall. Give me a follow on Twitter, AFTN Canada. Hopefully, if the weather clears up, I'll be out some VMSL games, so we'll get those highlights up on our YouTube channel, AFTN Canada on YouTube as well. Like, subscribe, all that kind of nonsense that goes on these days. We'll be back with another episode soon. We'll be touching on the Whitecaps, and we'll also be having our kind of Canadian Premier League season in review, our look ahead to the 2023 season, and some Vancouver FC stuff as well. So until then, as always, thanks for listening, take care, and mon the Caps. Viva España!
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
Et